Hello everyone, Patrick here, and today we are going to be talking about how you can find out your Dungeons & Dragons stats in real life. Now, Wizards of the Coast in both 3.5 and 5th edition have put ways into the books for you to find out what your strength score would be in real life, and this has led a lot of people, including people like myself, wondering, how can I find out what the other 5 stats would be? And so me and my friends got together and we thought of some ways that you could tell what each of the other 5 stats would be. Now, right off the bat, I just want to get something out of the way. This is purely for fun. Obviously, this isn't going to determine actually how effective you would be in a real life situation or anything like that. This is purely just, oh man, if I was a D&D character, what would my stats realistically be? So with that out of the way, let's start with strength, the one that Wizards of the Coast have actually talked about in the books. Now, in order to find this out, you kind of gotta work backwards through the logic. Because in the books, what it says is, if your character has this strength value, they can lift X amount of weight. So we're going to reverse that logic. We are going to find out how much you can lift and then apply your strength value to that. Basically, how you would arrive at that number is how much you can deadlift divided by 30, round up to the nearest round number, equals your strength score. So, for instance, if you have a 300-pound 1-rep max deadlift, divide that by 30, and your strength score would be 10, giving you a modifier of 0. Similarly, if your strength score is 305 or 310, then you would just round up or down, depending, which would still come out to 10. Now, some of you might be thinking, 300 pounds is a lot of weight. That only gives me a 10? But something you gotta keep in mind is in D&D, you're playing like a hero. Like if just the average villager could stop the robbers or slay the dragon, they wouldn't really need to call you. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, general rule of thumb for ability scores going forward is that they cannot be below 3, and they also cannot be above 20. So for instance, if you had above a 600-pound deadlift, which if you did the math would give you a strength score above 20, then we would just count that as a 20, which is a +5. You can't really go above that score. Next up is dexterity. Now, dexterity in D&D is different from what dexterity actually is in real life. Dexterity in real life is like hand agility, basically, hand fluidity. In D&D, however, it's more of reflex time combined with whole body acrobatics, agility, that sort of a thing. And so a real easy way to measure this is if you look up reaction time test and go on humanbenchmark.com, it'll give you a real quick, real simple reaction time test that at the bottom, it also gives you the 20 most average results to show you where you stand. So literally, just take the test however many times you want, and you can take the best number if you want, or you could do an average and find where your place is among the chart, and that's your stat. Next up, we have Constitution. Now, Constitution is primarily known for being how tough your character is because it's the primary stat that gives you more hit points on every level up. But something that a lot of people ignore about Constitution in D&D is that it doesn't just represent how many hit points you get, it also represents your character's health, like how actually healthy they are. And a general rule of thumb to find out how healthy you are is resting heart rate. The lower your resting heart rate is, the healthier you are, generally speaking. The average resting heart rate is anywhere from 80 to 100 beats per minute, but we are just going to simplify that to the 100 marker. And you are going to take your resting heart rate, divide it by 10, and then invert the number. So to give an example, if your resting heart rate is 100, then that would mean that you would divide it by 10, and your score would be a 10 flat, which is again a 0 modifier. But if your resting heart rate is 80 beats per minute, let's say, then you are going to divide it by 10. That gives you 8. But remember, the lower the number of your resting heart rate, the better. So we're going to invert that and make it a 12, which would give you a +1 on your Constitution modifier. Next up, we have Intelligence. Now, Intelligence, I feel like this is really easy one. Again, just take your IQ, divide it by 10. That's your Intelligence score. The average IQ is 100. So again, divide that by 10, 10, perfect average. Next up, we have Wisdom. Now, it's really hard to quantify your actual wisdom, as wisdom is typically application of knowledge through experience rather than how much you actually know. But a really good, simple saying is that with age comes wisdom. And so I figured that that would be the perfect way to figure out what your wisdom score would be. The average age is roughly around 80. Take 80 divided by 20 and you get 4. So take your age and divide it by 4 and you come to your wisdom modifier number. Lastly, we have charisma. And for this one, what we are going to be doing is taking your total social media following. So not just how many you have on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Take it all as a whole, as a collective. And we can all agree that 100,000 followers, you're a pretty popular person. So if you take 100,000 divided by 20, you get 5,000. So you are going to take whatever your total social media following is, divided by 5,000, and that'll give you your total charisma number. Now again, this number cannot go below 3. Trust me, I have a feeling that a decent amount of people, that would be the case. Alright guys, well there you go. That's how to find out your D&D stats in real life. Please let me know what your stats are down in the comments below. And also, I will be leaving all of the formulas for each stat down in the comments below so that if you want to come back to this, see which one is which. Again, I am just going to, you just got to go down to the pinned comment and it'll be listed right there for you to read. But with that being said, here are my stats. I don't think anyone's going to be wanting to play as me as a character in D&D. But with all that being said, I'm Patrick, and I'll see you next time.